Hey hola, salute oi annyeong haseyo. Welcome to another amazing video. In today's video, we're going to talk about something other than idol. Surprise! We'll be discussing the sexualization of women in K-pop. I was going to include male idols here too, because it's just as important, but I think it's best to separate them as there's a lot to cover solely for women. So at the end of the video, please let me know if you'd like to see a video like this for male idols. Yes, I know you are probably tired of seeing and hearing about this topic, but unlike the TikToks you see talking about this, I will be very thorough and detailed to make you understand everything about this issue. The video will be divided into sections to make it easier to connect the dots. So yes, you can jump to the part you are more interested in, but I recommend watching everything to understand how everything is linked. I'm a silly goose most of the time, but this is a serious topic, so please pay attention to what is being said. That all being said, let's start. Okay, so what is sexualization? Sexualization is the emphasis on the sexual nature of a behavior or person that has nothing inherently sexual. It is linked to sexual objectification and exploitation, which, in search of profit, leads to the treatment of people as sole objects of sexual desire. If you still didn't get it, let me give you an example. A brand wants to start selling lingerie, which has nothing inherently sexual about it. It's just clothing, however, to attract attention. They decide to create ads with girls in seductive poses, tight or matching clothing, and more. In this manner, consumers will be more interested in the girls' bodies than in the products themselves, which usually leads to more sales. Now that you know what the term means, let me explain how it has been connected to K-pop. It's no secret that the K-pop industry began following the Japanese idol system, which previously sought out young, innocent, and individualistic cuteness in the scene. After an economic crisis and the success of idols worldwide, the innocence morphed into a more romantic and hipper image in the early 2000s. This was the first major step toward the sexualization of female idols. Again, the K-pop industry began by following the footsteps of the Japanese system, so around the same time, a new generation of K-pop fans had emerged thanks to its fame worldwide. Sex had become common, and idol-worshipping people, especially teenagers, had emerged. South Korea incorporated more westernized culture into its exported products to increase worldwide sales, resulting in a significant hypersexualization of items. Songs, music videos, and even the performers were adjusted to improve exportability. Combining this with Korea's male-dominated society results in an aggressively sexualized popular music business. The advent of music videos to help brand recognition brought a survival of the fittest attitude to the images of the artists. That is, the sexier artists survived. As a result, sexual content has increased in K-pop music videos. This means that there is a significant increase in the display, mainly through clothing, but there is not much of an increase in sexual acts depicted, as anything regarded as sex itself is taboo, while sexual-inducing content is okay. That is why companies use and abuse this discreet, explorative way of profiting. This sexualization of young girls and infantilization of grown-up women creates an environment where it becomes acceptable to view children as seductive and sexy when it's not. Generally speaking, this trend increases tolerance of a certain kind of violence against women, which could even lead to a greater risk of sexual aggression from South Korean society. Hypersexualization influences young people's perception of sexuality. The huge amount of discrete sexual content that is publicly available generates a distorted understanding of one's image. As you guys know, most of those obsessed with K-pop are children and teens, so their vision is constantly being distorted by the industry, leading to twisted behavior such as misogyny, hatred, and more. As I slightly mentioned previously, the sexualization of idols has an economic reason. It is directly related to profits, as it assures the success of a product. Well, at least a part of it. The image of Asian women is often linked to sexuality due to fetishization and xenophobia. As the flagship cultural commodities of South Korea, female idols are expected to be sexy and independent, in conjunction with being a product of the patriarchal South Korean capitalist society, which wants them to be submissive and innocent. They can't date to maintain innocence, have a directed public life and persona, and are shamed for not keeping their appearance up. They must have the guise of ambiguity, providing vulnerability, but keeping them whimsical and desirable, all to maximize profits and success. Believe it or not, the government and its patriarchal capitalism aid this stratification of genders, and vice versa, meaning that sexism supports the success of South Korea's patriarchal capitalism, forcing the sexual objectification of idols. Now that you understand what it means and the context, let's talk about something that can be confusing to some people. What is the difference between something sexy and something sexual? Something is judged as sexy when it's pleasing to the eye, primarily referring to physical attractiveness, while something sexual has an inherently sexual nature to it. The sinister difference between the two terms is immediately evident. If a woman is being sexy, she embodies her self-expression of her individually. If a woman is being sexualized, her self-expression is disregarded as she is only seen for her sexual appeal. A woman who is being sexy is confidently practicing ownership of her body and sexuality. A woman who is being sexualized is being reduced to nothing more than an object. overlooked. Viewing and treating women as solely sexual beings promotes a violent culture in which the woman is always badly viewed for her body, regardless of what she does. Especially in South Korea, the only acceptable circumstance in which a woman can show her sexiness is when someone is sexualizing them. As you guys most likely know, many female idols love to be and act sexy, and there is absolutely nothing wrong with it. They are exploring their body, sensuality, and sexuality, and more than that, most of the time, they are just having fun with themselves. However, due to the circumstances and facts previously explained, that is not how people perceive it, which brings us to the next topic: perspective. Perspective is the way individuals see the world. It comes from their point of view and is shaped by life experiences, values, their current state of mind, the assumptions they bring into a situation, and many other things. A perspective is not right or wrong by default. It just is what it is. The point of view of a single person based on their life experiences and values, among other things. K-pop stans, however, can't grasp this concept and end up forcing their faith, thoughts, and beliefs onto idols, which is ultimately wrong, as other people have nothing to do with what you think. So, whenever a female idol acts sexy or comfortable with their body, people will act like it's the most immoral and evil thing in the world. Some may even claim that they are being sexualized and explored. This behavior is often seen with the group Kiss of Life. All the girls are very comfortable and happy with themselves. They love to act like hot girls. Well, they are, and show their sexy side, as they have said themselves.
저희는 이러이러한 음악을 해왔고 이러이러한 걸 좋아하고 앞으로 이런 걸 하고 싶어서 여기를 들어왔습니다. 그거를 이제 다 한 명씩 PPT로 정리를 해서 그런 브리핑하는 시간을 가졌었어요. 처음 그룹이 만들어지기 전에. 그러고 나서 이제 그걸 보고 회사도 아, 이 친구들이 자기 스스로에 대한 이해도가 되게 깊은 친구들이고 하고자 하는 게 되게 뚜렷한 친구들이구나. 앞으로 뭐 했을 때 얘네들 의견을 다 들어줘야겠구나 해서 그 이후로부터도 많은 참여를 하고 항상 각각 멤버가 잘하는 분야에 있어서 무조건 의견을 좀 많이 정리를 해서 보내는 편이에요.
뭐 앨범 하나를 기획하면 멤버들의 의견도 꼭 물어보는 편인데 줄리는 기획안을 써서 줘요. 그러니까 PPT를 만들어서 주거든요. 그 정도로 뭔가 기획적인 머리도 되게 좋은 친구여서.
They've been praised a lot for not being afraid to explore their sensuality, but many stans argue they're disrespecting a certain religion, that dancing in a certain way is nasty, or that they're being abused by their company. Once again, they are not doing any of these things mentioned. That is purely a question of viewpoint, but it's always good to remember your perspective has nothing to do with how other people behave. People, specifically celebrities, don't have to match any expectations you may have of them. I personally believe this occurs mostly because most K-pop fans are children and teens, so they have yet to understand more of the world, but there are probably some older and conservative people who think the same too. The last and probably most important point for today is the double standards. The double standard is the application of different sets of principles for situations that are the same. It is often used to describe treatment whereby one group is given more freedom than another. This can be seen in many forms, but mostly with genders. So often, females are treated differently from males, even though they should be treated the same way. As I explained at the beginning of this video, someone's gender role affects others' moral, social, political, and legal responses, particularly in South Korea, due to its strong cultural and historical background. It can be developed in people's minds for many reasons, including finding an excuse for hate and twisting facts to support beliefs. Doesn't this demeanor remind you of something I previously explained? With these double standards, female idols get criticized for things that male idols usually do. Female idols are frequently dressed in small, revealing clothes in which they are required to dance hard to hard choreo. This leads to the sexualization of female idols when they are performing on stage. Although boy groups are sexualized as well, the majority of them wear stage outfits that cover their bodies and have the option to reveal their body when performing. A great example of this was this year's Waterbomb Festival, where Yoonbi was heavily criticized for her clothing, body, and alleged nasty actions, while Baeko was heavily praised for his body. Let me show you more examples of double standards. Dating. Whenever there is a dating controversy, female idols are at a much greater risk than males. When a female idol is dating, male fans will attack them for not being theirs. And even when the dating controversy involves male idols, enraged female fans will anonymously attack the female idols online. In general, when male idols get into controversies, such as DUI, bullying, and others, the fans will forgive or defend them. In contrast, if female idols get into controversies, it's the end of their career. Aside from the obvious patriarchal culture, I believe there are two main reasons for this to happen in K-pop: undiscovered misogyny and fetishization. Misogyny. It's common knowledge that female idols receive mistreatment in the industry merely because they are women in the patriarchal system. People are constantly fed with it and tend to repeat the pattern, especially if it can be used to justify hate. Misogyny is the hatred of, contempt for, or prejudice against women. It is a form of sexism that can keep women at a lower social status than men, thus maintaining the social roles of patriarchy. Sometimes misogyny manifests in obvious ways, like the recent case of deep fake of idols, and other times it is more subtle or disguised in ways that provide plausible deniability, something the K industry loves. Therefore, males will often subtly harass women so they won't have to take accountability for their actions. In fandom spaces, it's common for gay men to be super misogynistic and use the fact that they are queer as a guise to hate on women, but well, being gay does not make anyone less of a man. It's just as disgusting. Some women experience experience internalized misogyny as well, and may express it through minimizing the value of women and showing gender bias in favor of men. Which brings us to the second point, fetishization. With the globalization of K-pop, and consequently the Korean culture, many people romanticize it, from deciding to pursue a life in South Korea to even developing internalized racism toward their own cultures. Of course, they are not aware of the inequity that lurks within Korean society overall. Due to aesthetics and visuals, which are constantly boosted by fiction, many fans fetishize Korean people, specifically men, and are obsessed with them to the point where they'll harass female idols to make their fantasies come true. Okay, now the only question that remains is there a way to end the sexualization of women in K-pop? The answer is yes and no. Yes, since there are numerous ways to combat it, educate people, and promote a healthy perspective on women, particularly with the growing number of idols who are willing to speak out on these topics. And no, because the problem is so deeply ingrained in Korean society that it is too difficult to address, especially because K-pop is developing at an unfathomable rate. That is why it is critical to support and listen to idols who dare to speak up about women's sexualization and other issues, no matter how they do it. As fans, the biggest thing we can do is learn to respect others and understand that our perspectives are not the only ones that exist, nor are they the same as others. My faith has nothing to do with Jenny. The way I think is not the way Rose thinks. The way I like my clothes is not the way Lisa's clothes are supposed to be, and so it goes. Oh, and more than that, we should pay attention to women who are actually being sexually exploited and harassed by others, and not those who just love and are comfortable with themselves. Before finishing things up, let me talk about them. Yes, them. K-pop Planet. K-pop Planet is an online K-pop store based in Seoul, South Korea that sells everything K-pop related, including albums, photo cards, merchandise, magazines, and more. What makes them the best K-pop store in the universe is that they sell albums with photo card sets, with pre-order benefits from any store, as well as separately. Their prices are really great. Like, seriously, take a look at this. But if you use my code WOO5, you can get an even better deal. The code guarantees you a discount on all products in the store. You can use the link in the description box, and the discount will be applied automatically when you check out, or you can type the code at checkout. If I were you, I'd buy something quickly because at these prices, I will empty their stock soon. I'm going to leave links and any information you may need in the description box. Thank you, K-pop Planet, for sponsoring today's video. That was it for today's video. Thank you so much for watching. Make sure to share your opinions here. I'd love to block everyone. Just kidding. I'd like to hear your perspective too. If you liked it, please consider leaving a like, commenting, subscribing. If you want to see more of me, I am always on Twitter complaining about something. See you soon.